Okay. So we are on the 6th chapter, 2nd Mishnah. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, B'kol yom v'yom, each and every day, a bas kol yotzei mahar chorev, a small voice emanates from Mount Horeb. Right? Remember on Yom Kippur we talk about the still small voice, right? Right. Umachrezet ve'omeret, and it proclaims and it says, Oy, oy, oy lachem labriot. Woe to them, woe to all creations.
3 oys or 1 oy?
1 oy. Oy!
3 oys for effect.
3 oys for effect. I translated it a little bit too. Alright, so oy. But you know, it's like, but God's really feeling it. Think about it. Alright, listen what he's going to say. Oy, woe to them, to the people, because they insult the Torah. Because whoever doesn't occupy himself with the Torah is called rebuked. Right? Nikra nazuf. You're called kicked out. Rebuked. Right? Punished, criticized, slammed. You know what God thinks of you? Nezem zacha ba'af chazir. Like a gold ring in the nose of a pig. Right? Isha yafer v'sarat ta'am. A beautiful woman who has bad judgment. Right? God gives you beauty and great. Think of it. Nothing in the world, no one in the world is luckier than a beautiful woman. She got everything, right? She gets to pick her guy. You have to work on it. Marry the billionaire and you're done. You get your hand picked, like whatever, right? I'm going to give you a gift and you're going to take it and throw it in the mud. I'm going to make you a Jew and you're going to throw it away. I'm going to teach you Torah and you're going to run away from it. I'm going to give you values and you're going to say, pshaw, I'd rather play. Right? I want to party. I don't want to be a soul. I want to be a random popped out hunk of meat. Because as long as I'm a piece of meat, then I can play. Right? Why is it? So one of the great battles between the Jews and the Greeks was the battle over Bris Milah. So you see, there's stories of Rabbi Akiva arguing with Turnus Rufus, Tinius Rufus, really Roman, but the Eastern Roman Empire is all Greek. You can take it back if you want. But Turnus Rufus, we'll call it Roman and Jews. And Turnus Rufus says, man was created perfect. How dare you cut it? Right? The battle going on in Germany right now. What are we accused of? We're accused of, right, of trashing a human body, of malforming, of deforming, of mutilating a little kid. Right? So he says man is created perfect. And Rabbi Akiva says, no, that's not true. Man is created perfectible. So which is a higher view of man? To say that man is created perfect, or to say that man is created perfectible? So it's an insult to say that man is created perfect. Because perfect means man is created unchangeable. Right? Unchangeable means you are what you are. You can't fix it. You can't change it. You're stuck. Why did the Greeks philosophically want to believe in fate? The Greeks fought a war with the Jews over ideas. It's an amazing concept to think that we had a philosophical civil war. Right? We went to war over an idea. They hated the idea of Bris Milah. They hated the idea of Rosh Chodesh. Why did they hate Rosh Chodesh? Right? When they forbade us to have Torah, they forbade us to have Rosh Chodesh. They saw Rosh Chodesh as the fundamental platform on which Torah is built. Why? What's the first mission of mitzvah that we're given in the Torah? Rosh Chodesh. Right? So you look at our calendar right now. You ever notice our calendar has 2-day yontifs? Right? There's people who say, get rid of 2-day yontifs. We know when yontif is going to be, right? If I asked you to, could you tell me when Pesach is going to be 27 years from now? Open up the calendar, you know. So what's the point of having Rosh Chodesh? Right? So here's the issue. There was never a question when the molad would be. Right? They get up in shul and they announce the molad. The molad is the exact moment that the moon passes between the earth and the sun. It's the center of the new moon. And they tell you the Molad's going to be next Tuesday morning at 6:13, and 27 Hawaii. And they tell you down to the seconds is when the Molad would be. And that was put in a book 2,000 years ago. And they can tell you when the Molad's going to be 2,000 years from now. There was never a question of when the Molad would be. So the question is, how was there ever a question when Rosh Chodesh would be? Right? The reason we have 2-day Yontifs is because we don't know when Rosh Chodesh would have been. So here's the idea: how do we get to Rosh Chodesh? Rosh Chodesh happens according to a very sophisticated set of rules. That 2 witnesses from the general community have to go to the Beis Din and say, we saw the new moon, and it was here at this time. So first of all, now the astronomers on the Sanhedrin know exactly when the Molad is supposed to be. They know exactly where the moon is supposed to be. If they know that the moon is supposed to rise 15 degrees, south of due east, and you say that you saw it in the evening to the west, they know you're a liar, they throw you out. They only accept the testimony if the testimony corresponds to the astronomical reality that they know it's going to be. All right? And you testify that you saw it, and the Beis Din then declares that day Rosh Chodesh. So the way that physically is structured, most any Molad, there's really one of 2 days, depending on what's seen and not seen, that can be declared Rosh Chodesh. Right? You can't declare the day before. You can't declare the day after. There's a set of parameters that it has to be worked in within that are physically real. But you never know which day witnesses will have come properly and testified before a Beit Din, and a Beis Din would have declared holy. So here's the answer. Holiness of time is declared by man. We make time holy. Right? Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur are determined within parameters. It's got to be one of these 2 days, but the court decides. Once we lost the court, so we have to do Rosh Chodesh based on the Molad, but we still don't know which of the 2 days, if there had been a sitting Beis Din now, a sitting Sanhedrin, you don't know which of those 2 possible days they would have identified, and therefore we use them both. Right? It was never a question. So the Reform, who got rid of 2-day Yontifs, thought that it was a question of intercalation of the moon. It was never a question of intercalation of the moon. When push came to shove and Hillel II said, we're in trouble, he says, listen, here's the calendar, take it out for forever, and we're done. Right? There was never a doubt as to what the physicality would be. The thing is, God says, you as a human being decide whether or not time is holy. You decide whether or not your Friday night is holy. You decide whether or not your Tuesday morning is wasted or holy. The concept of whether time is holy, is spiritual, is purely physical and rotted, or whether time is spiritual, that's up to you. And we preserve the calendar as a reminder. And the Greeks were willing to destroy us to destroy that calendar. They could not accept the idea that man would determine whether time was holy. They could not accept the idea that man would determine whether physicality was holy. The idea that you're perfectible means you have responsibility. Which means if you rob banks, it's your fault. If you're a pervert, it's your fault. If you're a thief, it's your fault. Because you're perfectible. Right? We live in a society that argues nature versus nurture. Is a person's life bound by his genetics, or is it bound by his parents' lousy parenting job? Right? Whatever's wrong with me is either my genetics or it's the fact that my parents messed me up. And we say, no, you're constrained. There's no question that you're constrained. Right? Your life as a 17th century Afghan girl, is going to be different than your life as a 21st century, affluent American man. Right? Your opportunities in life are different than mine. And mine are different than yours. And yours are different than hers. Right? There's no question that people are constrained by their skill set, by their health, by their right. But ultimately, what you make of your life is up to you. The Greeks didn't like that. The Greeks wanted to basically just be rotten, evil, nasty people, be perverts, be thieves, be whatever they wanted to be, and say, it's not my fault, it's the fates. The fates did this. I was fated to be this. Right? In India, which never got rid of that philosophical system, you have people who are sewer cleaners, because their ancestors 2,000 years ago were sewer cleaners, and they were classified as untouchable sewer cleaners, and you have literally a tribe of people who are sewer cleaners, the descendants of sewer cleaners, the descendants of sewer cleaners, and if that was your role, that is the role of your descendants for the rest of thousands of years. Right? If you were a baker, you know that your great-grandson 2,000 years from now is going to be a baker. Because that's what human being, you are what you are and you can't change. It's a slander of the nature of a human soul. We say it's not true. We say your job is to choose. Right? Ultimately, more than anything else, your job is to choose. God will create the opportunity for you to become holy. And it's up to you. Are you going to do it or are you not going to do it? So a voice comes up on Mount Horeb. And he says, what an insult. Right? It's like I gave you every opportunity in the world to be a selecting, choosing, free will, moral, ethical, philosophical, God-loving Torah person. And you said, I want to be a frat boy. I don't want to listen. Don't give me Torah, because Torah tells me how to behave. Right? I don't want to do that. I just want to play. I want to party. I want to be slime and get away with it. I want to cheat and get away with it. I don't want anyone telling me what to do, let alone Torah. It says that is a gold ring. Right? God gave you a neshama. He gave you choice. He gave you all these skills and what, right? And you snap it onto a pig snout. God says, you're rebuked. And he cries. Because he looks out at the world, right? The last mission was, what do you do when people are involved in Torah? He says, you look at our people and our nation, and far more people are just goofing off. They have no interest in choosing good. They have no interest in morality. I want to have an affair, I want to have an affair. Right? I want to cheat in business, I want to cheat. There's God and there's business. Don't, what are you messing the two up? I don't want to be told what to do. Right? He says, you turn away from good judgment. And you're like a gold ring in the snout of a pig. He says the tablets, right? The tablets are God's handiwork, right? And where is it? Mitav Elokim, who, right? God wrote them. Harut al haluchot. And it's harut. That the words, God's commandments are harut, are engraven. Right? God's communication with the world is engraving. Different ways you could use for the word writing, but he wants you to understand that God's giving over the Torah to you is an act of engraving. But why do you use the word engraving? Because the word engraving, which is chet, resh, vav, taf, is also the word not just harut, but it's cherut, freedom. It's not the word harut, engraved. God wants you to understand that his process of giving over Torah, of giving over instruction to you, is an engraving. It's a carving into the world, but it's really, he uses that word because he wants you to understand, it's freedom. That freedom, he says here, no freer man than one who engages in the study of Torah. Right? Anyone who studies in Torah becomes elevated. In terms of Matana to Nechalel, from Nechalel to Bamos, right? That you go up level by level. But the ultimate idea, where is that the real question is not what you're free from. It's a question of what are you free for? What are you free to become? Right? Our concept of freedom is not anarchy. Our concept of freedom, you can say, that freedom is, I've got no bounds. I can just, no one can constrain me. No, I can do whatever, right? Whatever I want. And that's when I was teaching my kid about leverage yesterday. Right? Unless you have something to push off of, you can go nowhere. Right? Take someone and just drop them in the empty vacuum. Right? You're totally free. But with no constraint, you got nothing to push against. You got nothing, right? You can't move. You're totally paralyzed. You're just going to float into eternity, right? And you're gone. He says God created us and engraved on us, right, a system of morality and ethics, constraints on behavior. He says you can be a dog. Right? You want to be a dog, but you're not a human being. So if you don't want to be a dog, if you want to be a human being, then what you need are constraints. What you need is this list, is Torah, is the engraving which says, here's what's right and here's what's wrong. Here's what's appropriate and here's what's inappropriate. And this is what moves you, right, from place to place to place. And you move from matana, right, that it's a gift, to Nahaliel, which means it's an inheritance, right? An inheritance means it belongs to me. It's still a gift, but it's, my parents took it and refined it and shaped it and brought it down to me. And finally, it's Bamot. It's an elevation, something to stand on. Right? Here's how Torah comes to you. As a little kid, it's a matana. Your parents just give you these values as a gift. They send you to Hebrew school, they send you to day school, right? You sit in a class, and they just drop Torah idea after Torah idea on you, hopefully. And it's just a gift. It means nothing to you necessarily. I'm giving you little stories. I'm throwing whatever I can at you as far as Torah values. But from Matana, we go to Nahaliel, Nahalat Avot, right? An inheritance. At a certain point, you recognize the wisdom of what your parents and your grandparents were, and what this nation has done for 3,000 years. And you realize it's not just a gift, right? It's the family inheritance. There's a refinement and a value. Not everything comes down. You get rid of the useless stuff. Someone, hopefully, in your inheritance picked what was valuable. And the last becomes a bamot. It was a place for you to stand on. And now it becomes the platform and the foundation for everything else that you build in your life. So you take your pick. Right? The voice stands on the mountain and it cries. It says, I see the Jewish people. This is 2,000 years ago. He knew where we were going. Right? He gives us one mission that says, listen, sweetheart. Listen, my son, be a Torah person, and here's what you get. The last mission we did, here's all the benefits of being a Torah person. So I want you to know that God stands on the mountain of Horev, right, where he gave us Torah, and he cries. Because we're rebuked. Because we've given it all up. We've taken all the gifts and turned them into just horrific stuff. But if you can take it as a gift, and come to have the clarity that it's an inheritance, and eventually turn it into a place to stand, and you get it all back. So that's our second mission.